I paid for my sister's engagement party. Then she and my parents cut me out like I meant nothing. So I took it all back, canceled everything, and let it burn. I, 28M, never thought I'd be the type of person to burn bridges with my own family, but here we are. 3 months ago, I was the golden child who could do no wrong. Today, I'm apparently dead to them. Let me tell you how we got here. My sister was getting engaged to her boyfriend of 2 years. She's always been the family princess, 5 years younger than me, and honestly, I've always looked out for her. When she came to me crying about how she couldn't afford the engagement party she'd been dreaming of, I didn't hesitate. I had just gotten a promotion at my tech job, and the bonus was sitting in my account doing nothing. She told me she needed $12,000 to make it perfect. The venue, catering, decorations, photographer, everything. She had this whole vision of this elegant garden party with fairy lights and a live string quartet. Her eyes lit up when she described it, and I couldn't say no. I transferred the money that same day. But here's where it gets interesting. I didn't just hand over a check and walk away. I put everything in my name. The contracts, the deposits, the vendor agreements. My sister asked me to handle it because she was overwhelmed with wedding planning, and I figured it would be easier to manage everything from my end anyway. Smart move, as it turned out. The party was set for last Saturday. Everything was booked, paid for, and ready to go. I was actually excited to see my sister happy. Then Tuesday happened. I was at work when my phone started buzzing. Text after text from family members I barely talked to, all saying the same thing. Congratulating me on my engagement. My engagement. To someone I'd never heard of. Confused, I called my sister. She answered on the first ring, giggling like a schoolgirl. She told me she had the most amazing news and that she'd been trying to reach me all day. Apparently, she and her fiancé had decided to announce their engagement at what was supposed to be their engagement party. But not just that. They were also announcing my engagement to some girl named Sarah, who I'd supposedly been secretly dating for months. I told her I had no idea what she was talking about. I wasn't dating anyone named Sarah. I wasn't dating anyone at all. She laughed and said I didn't need to keep pretending, that Mom had told her all about Sarah and how I was too shy to introduce her to the family. That's when it clicked. I called my mother immediately. Mom answered cheerfully, asking if I was excited about Saturday. She told me how proud she was that I'd finally found someone special and how she couldn't wait to meet Sarah properly. When I told her I wasn't dating anyone named Sarah, her tone changed completely. She accused me of lying, of trying to embarrass the family. She said my sister had worked so hard to plan this perfect announcement for both of us, and I was being selfish and difficult. She told me Sarah was a lovely girl from their church who had been asking about me, and they'd already told her I was interested. I realized what had happened. My family had decided to play matchmaker and had invented an entire relationship for me. They told this poor girl that I was interested in her, told the extended family that we were dating, and now planned to ambush both of us at the engagement party with a fake announcement. I told my mother this was insane and that I wouldn't be part of it. She told me I was being dramatic and that I should be grateful they were trying to help me find someone. She said I was getting older and needed to settle down, and Sarah was perfect for me. When I refused to go along with it, she got angry, really angry. She told me I was ruining my sister's special day and that if I couldn't be supportive, maybe I shouldn't come at all. I hung up and immediately called my father. Surely he would see how crazy this was. But Dad took Mom's side completely. He told me I was being ungrateful after everything they'd done for me, and that this was about family loyalty. He said I owed it to my sister to make her day perfect, and if that meant playing along with their plan, then that's what I should do. I tried calling my sister back, thinking maybe she would listen to reason. She didn't. She told me she'd already sent out updated invitations mentioning both engagements, and that everyone was expecting to meet Sarah. She said I was being selfish and that I always had to make everything about me. That hurt. I'd literally paid for her entire party, and she was calling me selfish for not wanting to fake an engagement to a stranger. I spent the rest of the week trying to reach out to different family members, hoping someone would see how insane this situation was. My aunt told me to stop being difficult. My uncle said I should be happy they found me someone nice. My cousins thought it was romantic that the family was so invested in my love life. Nobody seemed to understand that what they were planning was essentially fraud. They were going to announce my engagement to someone I'd never properly met, in front of 50 people, at a party I'd paid for. Friday night, my sister called me one last time. She told me she'd spoken to Sarah, and that Sarah was excited to meet me tomorrow. She said Sarah thought we'd been talking online and was looking forward to finally meeting in person. My sister had apparently created an entire fake backstory about our relationship. I told my sister this had gone too far and that I wouldn't be there tomorrow. She started crying, saying I was ruining everything and that she'd never forgive me if I didn't show up. She said she'd already told everyone I'd be there with Sarah and that I was humiliating her. I made my decision that night. Saturday morning, I started making phone calls. First, I called the venue and canceled everything. Since all the contracts were in my name, it was surprisingly easy. The venue manager was understanding when I explained there was a family emergency. Then I called the caterer. Canceled. The photographer. Canceled. The string quartet. Canceled. The florist. Canceled. One by one, I dismantled the entire event. By noon, I had canceled everything and arranged for refunds where possible. Some vendors kept deposits, but I didn't care. I was done. I didn't tell anyone what I'd done. I just waited. My phone started ringing at 3 o'clock. The party was supposed to start at 4. My sister was hysterical, screaming about how the venue was empty and nobody knew what was happening. She demanded to know where I was and why nothing was set up. I told her calmly that I had canceled everything. Since I'd paid for it, and it was all in my name, I had every right to cancel it. I explained that I wouldn't be part of their fake engagement scheme, and since they'd made it clear I wasn't welcome unless I played along, I decided not to participate at all. She hung up on me. My mother called next, absolutely furious. She told me I was dead to her, that I'd ruined my sister's life, and that I was no longer welcome in their home. She said I was selfish, cruel, and that she was ashamed to call me her son. My father's call was shorter, but somehow worse. He told me I'd crossed a line that couldn't be uncrossed, and that I'd made my choice. He said I was no longer part of the family. The rest of the family followed suit. Aunts, uncles, cousins, all of them calling or texting to tell me how disappointed they were, how I destroyed my sister's happiness, how I was selfish and vindictive. Not one of them seemed to understand why I'd done it. Not one of them acknowledged that what they'd planned was wrong. They all acted like I was the villain for not going along with their insane scheme. Update 1. It's been 2 weeks since the canceled party, and the fallout has been intense. My sister tried to salvage something by booking a small restaurant for the following weekend, but the damage was done. Half the family didn't show up because they'd already made other plans, and the whole thing was apparently awkward and depressing. She's been posting on social media about how family betrayal hurts worse than anything else, with lots of cryptic quotes about toxic people and cutting out negativity. She hasn't mentioned me by name, but everyone knows what she's talking about. My mother has been telling everyone who will listen that I had a mental breakdown and sabotaged my sister's happiness out of jealousy. She's painting me as unstable and dangerous, saying she's worried about my mental health, but that she can't help someone who won't help themselves. The most interesting development is that I found out what happened to Sarah, the girl they tried to set me up with. Apparently, she showed up to the venue that Saturday, dressed up and nervous about meeting me. When she found out the party was canceled and that I'd never actually agreed to meet her, she was mortified. She reached out to me through social media to apologize for the misunderstanding. Turns out my mother had told her that I was shy but very interested in her, and that I'd specifically requested that she come to the party. Sarah thought we'd been having conversations through my mother as an intermediary. She's actually a nice person, and we've been talking a bit. Not romantically, just as two people who got caught up in my family's manipulation. She told me she feels used and embarrassed, and that she's considering switching churches because she can't face my mother anymore. Update 2. A month has passed, and I'm starting to see the bigger picture of what my family is really like. My sister's fiancé reached out to me privately last week. He told me he never knew about the fake engagement plan, and that he's been questioning a lot of things since the party disaster. He said my sister has been increasingly demanding and dramatic since the engagement, and that the canceled party was just the latest in a series of situations where she expected everyone to bend over backwards for her. He's been having second thoughts about the wedding. He also told me something that made my blood boil. Apparently, my sister had been telling people for weeks before the party that I was paying for everything because I owed her money from years ago. She'd created this whole story about how I'd borrowed money from her in college and was finally paying her back by funding her engagement party. Complete lies. I've never borrowed money from my sister. If anything, I've been the one helping her financially for years. But she'd managed to make it sound like I wasn't being generous, just settling a debt. My parents have doubled down on their position. They've told extended family that I'm going through some kind of crisis and that they're giving me space to figure myself out. They're acting like the victims in all of this, like they're the long-suffering parents of a troubled son. But cracks are starting to show. My aunt, my mother's sister, called me last week. She said she'd been thinking about the whole situation and that something didn't add up. She asked me to tell her my side of the story, really tell her, without anyone else around. I did. I told her everything, from the fake engagement scheme to the lies about borrowed money. She was quiet for a long time after I finished. She told me she'd suspected something was off when my mother kept changing details about my supposed relationship with Sarah. First, I was too shy to bring her around. Then I was waiting for the right moment. Then I was planning to propose soon. The story kept shifting. She also said she'd noticed over the years how my parents treated me differently than my sister. How my achievements were downplayed while my sisters were celebrated. How I was expected to be the responsible one, the one who helped everyone else, while my sister was allowed to be dramatic and demanding. Update 3. It's been 3 months now, and I can honestly say I'm better off without them. The initial anger and hurt have faded into something like relief. I'm seeing clearly for the first time in years how toxic the dynamic was. My sister's engagement fell apart 2 weeks ago. Her fiancé finally had enough of her behavior and called off the wedding. She's been calling and texting me nonstop, alternating between blaming me for ruining her relationship and begging me to help her get him back. I haven't responded to any of her messages. My parents have been trying a different approach lately. My father called last week, acting like nothing happened, asking if I wanted to come to Sunday dinner. When I reminded him that he disowned me, he said I was being dramatic and that family is family. My mother sent me a birthday card last month with a note saying she missed me and hoped I was doing well. No apology, no acknowledgement of what happened, just acting like we'd had some minor disagreement that should be forgotten. I've realized that this is how they've always operated. Create drama, hurt people, then pretend it never happened and expect everyone to go back to normal. The difference is that I'm not playing along anymore. Sarah and I have become actual friends. Not romantic, but genuine friends who understand what it's like to be manipulated by people who claim to love you. She's been a good sounding board as I've worked through everything. The best part is that I've reconnected with some old friends who I'd lost touch with over the years. Turns out, when you're not constantly managing family drama and walking on eggshells, you have a lot more energy for real relationships. I've also started seeing a therapist, not because I think I'm crazy, but because I want to understand how I let myself be manipulated for so long. She's helped me see patterns I never noticed before. My family is still telling people I had a breakdown and that they're worried about me. But more people are starting to ask questions. My aunt has been quietly talking to other family members, and some of them are beginning to see the inconsistencies in my parents' story. I don't know if I'll ever have a relationship with my family again. Right now, I don't want one. They showed me who they really are when they thought they could use me and manipulate me without consequences. The $12,000 I spent on that canceled party was the best money I ever spent. It bought me my freedom from people who saw me as a resource to be used rather than a person to be loved. I'm building a new life now, with people who actually care about me as a person. People who don't expect me to set myself on fire to keep them warm. People who don't think love comes with conditions and manipulation. Sometimes the best revenge isn't getting back at people who hurt you. Sometimes it's just refusing to let them hurt you anymore and building something better without them. I let it all burn, and I'm not sorry. From the ashes, I'm building something real.